So the gradient of a line is how steep it is. And the first thing we need to know is that the steepness of a line can be positive, like this first line here. And that means it goes up from left to right. This is a positive gradient, we say. Whereas this line on the right goes down from left to right. As if you're reading it, we read from left to right. So this line goes down from left to right. And we'd say it has a negative gradient. So positive goes up from left to right, and negative gradient goes down from left to right. And one of the ways that we can find the gradient is by saying the gradient of a line is the rise over the run. And in this first line, this top line here, what we need to do to find the rise and the run is pick some points. And it doesn't matter which points, but there are certain points that are sensible. So for example, this point here, 0, 5. And then I have another one up here that's on the corner, 2, 11. Sorry. So in this line, you can see that it goes up by 6 units. And so the rise in this case is 6. The run is how far across it goes, and we go from 0 all the way across to 2. So the run in this case is 2. And sometimes we just need to be a little bit careful, because although it's only a run of 2, there are lots of squares, there are 10 squares there, but the scale says that it's a run of 2. And so for this first line, its gradient is the rise over the run, which is 6, divided by 2, which is 3. And that's a positive gradient, as we'd expect, because it's going up from left to right. In this second one, again we want to find the gradient, and that's the rise divided by the run. Now I need to pick 2 points, and I'm just going to pick points that go through the corners of squares. So it doesn't matter which 2 I pick, I'm going to pick those 2. And we're going to join those up and see what the rise and the run is. Now in this case you can see that the line goes down by 6 and across by 3. So in this case the rise is -6 because it goes down by 6, and the run is 3, it goes across by 3. And so overall the gradient is rise over run, which is -6 divided by 3, which is -2. And so we get -2 as a gradient. And again, that makes sense because we expected a negative gradient because it's going down from left to right. If I picked 2 other points, I could have picked any 2 points in that line and still get the same gradient. And let's take a wee example of that. So if, for example, I picked this coordinate and even this one here, let's see what the rise and the run are this time. This time we can see that the line goes down by 2 squares and across by 1 square. So when I go to do the rise over the run, gradient is rise over the run. It went down by 2 squares, that's -2, and it went across by 1. And we still get a gradient of -2. So it doesn't matter which points you choose in the line, as long as you count them accurately, you'll always get the same gradient. Now we can find the gradient of between 2 points without even drawing them out, because we saw that the gradient was the rise over the run, and the rise is simply how much it goes up. And if we have 2 coordinates, then how much it goes up is simply the difference in the y coordinates. And the run is how far it goes across, and that's the difference in x coordinates. So for example, here we have point 2, 3, and the point minus 8, 0. And if I want to find their difference in y coordinates, well, the y coordinates are 3 and 0. So I can say gradient is difference in y over difference in x. And when we find the difference between something, we subtract them. So it's 3 take away 0 is the difference in y coordinates. And 2, and I need to be careful here, subtract 8. So 2 minus 8, which is 3 over 2 plus 8. And the slope there, or the gradient, is 3/10. If I take the first set of coordinates away from the second coordinates for the y, I need to do the same for the x. But you can do it the other way around as long as you're consistent. So, for example, in this one here, the difference in the y coordinates, gradient, is, let's do 6 take away 4 as your difference in y coordinates. That means the second bracket is coming first, so for x coordinates it's 5 take away 3, which is 2 over 2. The gradient is 1. This third one, the gradient is the difference in y coordinates, so minus 3, subtract 1. And we're dividing that by 7, subtract 5. So that's negative 4 divided by 2, which is a slope or a gradient of negative 2. And finally, the gradient here is difference in y coordinates, so this time I'm going to go minus 3, subtract 8. So I'm doing left hand numbers subtract from the right hand numbers, so 2 subtract 4, which is negative 11 over negative 2. And a negative divided by a negative is positive, so that's 11 over 2, or 5.5. So here's some for you to try. On the left hand ones, the graphs are all drawn for you, and by picking out a number of points you can work out the rise and the run and find the gradient of each line. 2 of them are positive and 2 of them are negative. And for the right hand questions, there are coordinates, and we want you to find the gradient between those 2 coordinates. And to do that, don't forget the gradient is the difference in y coordinates divided by the difference in x coordinates. So pause the video and then restart it to find the answers.